This program is brought to you by the Media Liberty Alliance Foundation in cooperation with OBBM Network TV, bringing citizen-led, creative local media to the forefront of local communities to foster a greater understanding of constitutional liberty and appreciation of what makes us truly free, starting with you and me.
Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That way you're updated each time fresh content comes out. And thank you for being part of the Zach Ratliff Show.
The Zach Ratliff Show is sponsored by Mortgage Financial in Texarkana, Exceed Health Clinic, Elmwood Custom Goods, and Church on the Rock, Texarkana. That's churchontherock.org. Hello and welcome to the Zach Ratliff Show. I'm Zach. This is Deann Lee. Hello, Deann. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for being my first person to do one of these over the internet. I have a lot of in-person guests, but we were able to make it work like this, and I'm excited to do it.
Well, I am as well, and maybe this can open up your world that you can.
Yeah. It's like Aladdin said, it's a whole new world. Well, okay, so you're with Raise Your Hand Texas. Can you kind of tell us what that is and then a little bit about you so we know what we're about to talk about?
Absolutely, and thank you again for this opportunity. So Raise Your Hand Texas is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that supports public education through policy and advocacy. And so really what that means is I get to continue being a lifelong educator. I'm I say repurposed, not retired educator of 32 years. And so I still get to teach and educate people. And in essence, we educate folks as to the main issues in public education and then engage them, provide opportunities for them to be involved in advocacy. And then ultimately, it is to activate. You know, we can't change things without taking action.
Okay, man, that's a big breath to get all that out. So with this, and like I said, it's when I'm reading your website here, it says, you know, our mission is to create a vibrant civic culture where Texans vote, engage lawmakers and their neighbors, and act together to champion public education in their communities at the state capitol.
Yes, sir.
So when we're saying that, you know, there's a big push right now. Well, even the last legislature passed the school choice thing, which I don't think either side was happy about it by the time it was all done. It wasn't meaty enough for some, and it was too meaty for others. And so what does this look like in what you see your organization doing?
Our main focus now, the vote is taken. And so
Right.
In the future, the funding is the focus that as some may look to expand the voucher system and therefore add more financial resources to it. How do we ensure that that is not taking funding from public schools?
Right.
The governor has said two things may be true, that parents can have choice, but we can also have a strong public education system. And so part of what we want to ensure is that going forward, you know, Texas is already in the bottom 10 in per pupil funding in public education in the country. And so we certainly can't afford that to fall low.
Okay. Well, you know, I'll tell you my view on it. I'm not an educator and I've never been on, but just as Zach the taxpayer, I'll give you my view, and then I think we can make it jive. My thought always is, in anything government, I'm always for less bureaucracy. However, when it comes to teaching, and I'm that way in education, but I'm all for empowering educators to take care of our children. and those that know how to do this to have a bigger say. And me personally, I'm for more localized, more authority to the local school boards, more authority to them to cater to the kids that they teach. And so, am I off base with this thought process, or is it, kind of where am I on this?
Oh, absolutely not, because the state of Texas is so big. We have 1,100 school districts, and it within communities you have homeschool, you have private school, you have charter schools. We have so many choices already, and so even in East Texas, I'm the regional advocacy director for East Texas, and I have from Texarkana all the way down almost to Houston, and you know Bryan College Station west, all the way to the Louisiana border east. And so I can tell you, even from Texarkana to Paris to Longview, Kilgore, Tyler to Nacogdoches, deep piney woods, the needs are so different just in
Right.
Texas. And so, for some of the decisions that are made at the state level, to think that it can be a blanket work, or a fix or a work for every school district, it's literally just impossible. And so, the whole reason why school boards exist is to represent their local community and to make decisions that are best for their local schools. And you need things like needs assessments and looking at data and so forth to make those individual decisions. So it's way too difficult to do many of the things that we have that guide our schools, to do that at a state level.
Well, and that's exactly right. And I'm not saying that the state doesn't need to be involved at all. There need to be some core requirements. There are a lot of things the state can do, but golly, if we could just give a lot back to the local level, I feel like we could help our communities in such a vital way.
Absolutely. And, particularly, let's say with assessment accountability, that is one of the issues that we work on. So the public kind of knows it as the AF system. And, at the third grade through eighth grade level, nothing makes that letter grade except for the STAR test. No other factor goes into that letter grade except the STAR test. At the high school and district level, we do have what we call college career military readiness. That's 40% of that. And then we have the graduation rate, that's 20%. But even though those college career military ready standards, those are determined in Austin, in TEA. And so why would you not have the local community involved in what they're going to hold the local school districts accountable to? What industries are in the community? What skills are needed for that community to be successful? And that's what the school should be producing. But we take away that voice many times from the local community. And so we do seek to show people how to use that voice to bring it back home.
Well, and then you said something earlier about in person or per student funding and all that. So I have a question about that. We have a local school district in this area that it's being reported that 2 of their schools are being taken away by the state for the next school year. But their budget is tremendous. So I don't even understand how that happens. And I don't want you to get into that where you don't need to, but is funding the issue? Or there has to be something else, because we have a huge budget here for this school district.
Well, and that is determined by school district, from school district to school district. When you look at how many students and what programs and so forth. But when you look at that per pupil funding, the formula is the same no matter where you are in the state. Now, there are different weights, depending on how many special education students you have, or if you have low income students or so forth, then that it varies a little bit. But that basic funding is the absolute same. And so then when you are meeting the needs of individual students, depending on whatever the programs that they're involved in. Let's say, for instance, a bilingual program is quite expensive, or special education. We know that even TEA's report that they put out a couple of years ago showed that special education was being underfunded by $1 billion. And
Golly.
there are so many things that go into a budget. And, of course, these are public documents that you can see. But when you are not only paying your staff, which of course is the vast majority of any school budget, but you are also paying utility bills and buying gas for buses and, all of those kinds of things. And what many people don't understand is that the interest in sinking that you use for buildings, as far as actually building a building, that is a completely separate budget, and you can't cross those the way that the law works. And so when you are looking at the needs of a local district and looking at the budget, you also have to look at what are the programs that are available for the students. What is the special education population, the gifted and talented population? I mean, there's just numerous programs, and particularly with inflation, just to keep up with inflation, we needed $19 billion, and the schools received $8 billion across the state, which was very thankful, very
So
thankful.
not even half.
Exactly, but we are still so very far behind. We need in excess of $40 billion just to get us to the national average of per pupil funding in the country.
Man, it's just a lot to take in from somebody who I know nothing about this, but other than having read a little bit about your organization and then us having common connections and some things you're going to do. And so let's kind of talk about that. What are you all doing to advocate for this? Because I know that's a part of this organization. What are you? What does your advocacy look like on this and for all this?
It's one of the things that I love about this job is that I tell people, most people that you talk to, that, well, I want to do something. What do I do? How do I do
Yeah.
it? It's like, I know what advocacy is, but how do you actually do advocacy? And
Right.
so I love to, again, educate people as to advocacy, and whether you have 30 seconds and you want to be able to help from your couch and your pajamas all the way to running for office or testifying at the Capitol, wherever you are in your experience level of advocacy and your comfort zone, and frankly, the time that you have, then we can show you how you can contribute. And the great thing about advocacy, it doesn't matter if you're saving whales or saving schools, and I don't say that jokingly. Literally, whatever your your passion and your interest is, advocacy works the same way. You might contact different entities, but it works the same way. And in particular, how a bill is passed and so forth. So, the first thing that we do is we encourage people to vote. We do not endorse candidates. You can see my button. I support public education and I vote. We just encourage people, go out and vote. That's the first
Right.
thing. And then,
I don't encourage that. I tell them to get informed.
well, there you go. That's very good. Good to add in there. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But then, how can you get involved? So again, we try to provide opportunities. So for instance, we do a lot of candidate forums, and then we have a series of events going on. It's like a workshop simulation of assessment accountability, because the public hears so much about it, but they don't really know the everyday how it feels for a school district to be a part of the accountability system and making decisions. So we have some things like that going on. For funding, so many times legislators say, why don't you come to us with a solution instead of just a problem? And we've said, okay, So we don't have time to talk about it today, but we are proposing the first new funding source for public education in 20 years. And so
Oh,
that's some of what we are educating people to and beginning. The legislative session now is less than a year away, and many people don't realize you have to start talking about bills and
y-
issues a whole year, if not longer. That's
you
part of
have to. I mean, you have to go into the legislature with your bill written.
that's right.
Yeah.
Actually, even before.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So let's talk about some of these workshops. You've got one of those coming to the Texarkana area. What does that look like, and kind of give some details around that?
Okay. Well, on Thursday, February 26th, I'm gonna look at my cheat sheet just to make sure, but from 5 to 6:30 at the Texarkana Regional Arts Center in Cabe Hall. We are having one of these workshops that will help the public understand a little better about what schools are dealing with the accountability system. And so what we'll do is it's kind of unique and innovative, but we will have some simulation of decisions. So in other words, there'll be a situation and a school will make a decision based on the information they have, the resources they have, and we'll see how that affects their rating or, just the ability that the school has to perform well. Or does it not? And so that's some of what we'll look at. But we'll also review a little bit on the House Bill 8 that was recently passed, which is the new accountability system, to see what will be changing, what won't be changing, those kinds of things. So it's also very informative, particularly, let's say, for parents and community members. One of the things I like to ask employers is on your application, do you ask someone for their STAR scores? And so, should there be more factors in the accountability system? I mean, is that all that a school does day in and day out? Or should we expand some of those criteria that goes into the accountability system? So anyway, it's just some of those things that we're looking at, but instead of just sitting there talking at people, we want them to experience it. So we have tried to create this simulation workshop so they can actually feel it.
Well, and that I think that's amazing because most of us don't know what that is, don't know what that looks like, and don't. We're all expected to vote for it, and we're all expected to. We should at least try to inform ourselves about it, but we really don't have the ideas of it, so we're just kind of running blind. So I think an opportunity like this is amazing that you all are going to provide it, so that we can just kind of feel more involved on what's happening. I think.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said, that's our first of, educate, engage, activate. Educate is the most important thing. And matter of fact, you said it about voting. We need to be an informed voter. We also need to be an informed advocate because you can't advocate for what you don't understand.
Wow, yeah, that's well put.
Absolutely try to educate people to the issues so then they can decide where they stand on that issue and advocate with their elected officials, depending on where they stand and feel on the issue.
And I'll be honest with you, Deann. I am often critical of the education establishment, but not the educators, but the government part of it. And that's what I try to let people know is like, no, I'm pro teacher. I'm pro, like I said earlier, I'm pro local school district. I just need the government to get out of their way so they can do a good job. And then we need to give them the tools or allow them to use the tools that they know they need in order to achieve success, whatever we as a state deem as success. Okay, I understand that, but we've got to get out of the way at some point.
That's right. And really the reason why this organization exists is that we realize there are improvements that we can all make. I mean, you have this new equipment. You know, you are seeking a way to improve on what you do. We hope
Right.
we all have a growth mindset of how can we be better today than yesterday? How can we be better tomorrow than today? And so we seek innovative ways. You know, we can't do school the same way we did it 50 years ago.
Absolutely.
Too many things that are changing. So how can we do that? How can we continue to move forward? So I completely hear you and understand and agree with you that it's not all as it should be. So what can we do as advocates and supporters to change it, to improve?
No, that's exactly right. Well, if someone wants more information about you or your organization, how do they find that? Where do they go? And because I want them to have all the chance they can to get to know what you guys are doing.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Just as you have done, the probably easiest way is to go to our website. And so just, raiseyourhandtexas.org. If you just Google Raise Your Hand Texas, that will come up. You can also follow me on, I'd say I'm on my Raise Your Hand account. I have a Facebook and also on Twitter. LinkedIn is really more personal, although I share a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I know you'll ask me exactly what those are, and I don't have them in front
Well,
of
they
me.
can
But
search it.
I
I
was going
mean,
to say,
if
you Google me, and particularly East Texas, Regional Advocacy Director, East Texas, and my name, that comes up. But anyway, we're on several other platforms also, but myself, those are my main ones. But our website, matter of fact, we have a newly launched website here just in the last few weeks. You can find a plethora of information there. But then also contacting me, if you look at our team on that website, then it has our information and email address. And I would love to, whether it's talk on the phone or come meet you in person for a cup of coffee and have a chat or whatever, that's what we do.
Well, hey, thank you for your time today. Thank you for trying to help education in Texas and our kids. I think that's amazing. It's needed. I think no matter where you're coming from, we need education. It needs to be good for our children, and that's, if that's the goal, then I'm for it. So I appreciate your time today. I'll let you get out of here. Everybody else, we're going to get out of here. Thank you for listening, and I hope God blesses each and every one of you today. Thank you, Deann. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciate it.
Bye bye.